Welcome to Slow Medicine Radio. Our host is integrative medicine Dr. Michael Finkelstein. Michael offers medical advice from a holistic paradigm, including both medical and metaphysical philosophies from the full spectrum of human experience. Slow Medicine Radio offers fresh ideas on how to attain a state of wellness that seems distant given the limitations of today's medical paradigm. It introduces you to thought leaders who connect the dots between theory and practice, examining health from a broad perspective with regards to medical diagnoses, conventional and alternative therapies, healthcare policy, and related topics that warrant further thought and discussion. Slow Medicine Radio does not prescribe to take this or do that. Instead, it offers an open-minded, intelligent, and practical approach to living, resulting in greater health individually and collectively. Here is Dr. Michael Finkelstein, the founder of Sunraven, the home of slow medicine in Bedford, New York.
And good afternoon. This is Don Stevens along with Dr. Michael Finkelstein right here in studio. And welcome to Slow Medicine Radio, a brand new show premiering today on WVOX. And we'll be with you every Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock. And some of you may have heard Dr. Finkelstein this morning with Bob Marone on Good Morning Westchester. But for those of you who didn't, let me introduce you to Dr. Michael Finkelstein. Dr. Michael Finkelstein is the founder and executive director of the Slow Medicine Foundation and is the founder and medical director of Sunraven, the home of slow medicine, a wellness center located on a farm in Bedford, New York. He's going to be talking about what slow medicine is, and you call it the best quick fix to your health. Welcome, Dr. Michael Finkelstein. Welcome to WVOX.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for all of you out there who are listening. Looking forward to having a long conversation over the next months and years.
So tell us, what is this whole slow medicine thing that you're talking about? You're the slow medicine doctor. What's all that mean?
Well, I was practicing conventional medicine for many years and practiced what I learned in medical school and realized that people were still suffering. Even when I was able to do well by them, by giving them a treatment for their ailment, they still went home and a lot of the things in their life were still out of place and they came back. I think most of us realize that the Western medical paradigm is limited. So as I learned more in my life and through experience and personal experience as well, because I got older, I realized that there's a common ailment that we're all suffering from, and that's the fast world and how it affects us. So this rush of modern life, the intensity of our day, the traffic, the boss, the people at home and in our communities that need us, a lot of which we enjoy, is so much pressure. And we're in this fight or flight mode pretty much all the time. And that stress accumulates, wears us out. And the antidote is a lot of things potentially in terms of recommendations, but in a word, it's slow. So the medicine we need for the fast world is slow.
So we're speaking with Dr. Michael Finkelstein. This is a brand new show, Slow Medicine Radio. So, but what's wrong with, your doctor tells you, he prescribes you, this pill, take this pill, and, you should calm your nerves, everything will be all right. What's wrong with it?
Well, the symptoms that we experience can be relieved by medications. Most of us know that. But the question is the underlying ailment relieved by medication? For the most part, people experience that initial relief and then something comes back, or the medication or the treatment has some sort of longer term side effect that's not so desirable. So wouldn't it be nice to get something or get an advice or learn about an approach to living where you would deal with the symptom, but that you wouldn't be dealing with the side effect and that it'd be more sustainable? That's what I want to offer.
So first of all, how does the person find you? How if the person wants to be consulted, have you for the consultation, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, I work on a small farm in Westchester County, which for most of the people who are listening to the show is probably within a half an hour. And it could be reached, by car, by train. The environment that I work in now, which is not that clinical, it's not the white coat establishment that most people are used to seeing their doctors, is meant to convey that part of the way that we'll get better is to find environments that are more soothing, more ailing. And so I work in this environment where people come and already feel relaxed. So it's called Sunraven. It's a small farm. Slowmedicine.org is the website, and that's the easiest way to reach me. The phone number is 914-218-3113. And on the show, many times we'll be repeating that so people can easily access more information if they like.
And if you'd like to join the conversation today and meet Dr. Finkelstein via our airwaves, you can always call us at 914-636-0110. And this is Slow Medicine Radio. I'm Don Stevens. And tell us, how do people end up coming to you? They've tried regular medicine. They've gone to their doctor, just isn't working.
Well, I think anyone who's had an ailment, particularly if it becomes chronic, is frustrated. They're frustrated by the fact that their symptoms persist, or that they need to take medications, or that doctors often say to them, I don't know what more you can do. And they are aware, though, because of information technology now, that there might be other approaches. Physicians, however, trained in the United States these days, while they're starting to get a little bit more education with regard to lifestyle treatment, still don't have a lot of time to go over that with people. So they're on their own. And, you know, the people who then say, gee, I would really value this type of approach. I need to spend some time with somebody who knows what they're talking about. Those are the people who seek me out. They like the fact that I'm trained as a Western physician, so that from a credibility point of view, I'm not going to throw that all out. I realize that there's a time and place for Western medicine, but there's also, in between all those visits, all those episodes, how do you take care of yourself? How do you improve the quality of your life? Not just the quantity, but the quality of your life. And those questions take a little bit more time, a little bit more of a thorough investigation. And when I see people, I usually spend hours with them to try to sort out those details and eventually come up with a plan that they actually believe is doable.
You talked about earlier when we started the program that one of the things that drew you to this and to help people in general with, you know, the way that we treat ailments these days is that we live in a very fast-paced society. And we know how much stress does to the system, what damage it can do to the body. Tell us a little about that and how your approach pretty much helps to heal that.
It's a great question, because it's really the core to understanding what I'm trying to accomplish. If you're walking through the woods and an animal jumps out behind the tree at you, what's going to happen? You immediately know the fight or flight response gets triggered. So your heart skips a beat and then starts racing. You know, your face turns red. The fact of the matter is that response, called the sympathetic system, is meant to help you run faster away from, let's say, a charging lion. So it saves your life. But it's not meant to be locked on. In our modern world, this intensity, the things that are thrown at us, the fear that maybe goes on in the background just because of all the discussions we have about things that are unsafe or problematic in our world, the amount of things on our to-do lists, keep that sympathetic nervous system locked on. And that depletes us of essential nutrients. It creates cellular damage. That not only makes us more susceptible to ailments, but when we get them, we don't recover so quickly. So the idea is to turn that off. And the off switch is something called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the counterbalancing arm, which is also built into us. But we have to push that button. The prototypical way of pushing that button is to take a deep breath. And I teach people how to do that literally. But there's a lot of things in our life that we need to learn to juggle and do differently. The rhythms and cycles of our life, sleeping, resting, activity, meals that are slow enough so that we can digest the food. Even if we're so bright and to figure out what we want to eat, we still need to sit down and eat that and allow our body to digest the nutrients. All of this requires a little bit of slowing down at the right time. Not all the time. I'm not talking about stopping, disconnecting from your life and the meaningful work that people do or their relationships. I'm talking about punctuating all that intensity with enough breathing, enough regular rhythmic activity that disconnects us from the fast pace so that we can function optimally.
We're speaking with Dr. Michael Finkelstein. The show is called Slow Medicine Radio. We're here every Monday at 5 p.m. Today's our premiere episode. And Doctor, you also have a book that's out called Slow Medicine and Hope and Healing for Chronic Illness. In the book, you talk about the fact that with slow medicine, it's the best quick fix to your health. Now, we all want something today in society. We all want something that's going to heal us quickly. We want to get healed quickly from our ailment. We want to lose weight fast. We want to do this fast. We want to do that fast. How is Slow Medicine Radio the best quick fix?
Well, that's another great question. So we live in a society where we expect if we can afford it, we can buy something that will fix us. And when that works, it's fantastic. If we have strep throat, we get an antibiotic, our throat's better, 36 hours later, fantastic. But most of medicine doesn't work that way. Most of our chronic ailments don't work that way. Our relationships take time. Our work takes time. So to get into harmony and balance isn't literally a quick fix. And people know what happens when they try that. When they take the pills, when they take even the supplements, when they change their diet, when they exercise like a fiend, they're almost exchange one problem for another problem, which might be the neurosis around the subject of health. I want people to live in a more relaxed, more rhythmic fashion. And to do that, there's a way of living. Now, it's not quick. So this is a play on words intentionally. But it's the quickest way you can get there because it's the most sure way you're going to get there. Everything else people have tried, for the most part, has had limited success, not only in terms of its immediate impact, but certainly its sustainability. So what I want to do is give people a path where they're most surely going to get to the goals that they seek.
So I take it you're not big on medication.
They can save our lives. So when they can save our lives, I'm big on them. However, a lot of medication is prescribed that's not actually saving our lives right now and creates a new dependency. And I think there's superior treatments for many of the things that people are prescribed medications for.
We're speaking with Dr. Michael Finkelstein, the slow medicine doctor. And doctor, do you feel that conventional medicine right now, do you find doctors kind of going in your direction, or some of them maybe, or are they still pretty much sticking with, medicine for this, a pill for this,
There's a couple of different camps. I think for the most part, when physicians are in practice, their patients are coming to them with these questions. And so it's interesting. You might think it's the younger physicians who are learning this. And to some extent, maybe they're learning a little bit more than I learned when I was in medical school in 1982. However, the fact is, it's those physicians who really want to do a better job than just using the tools they learned in medical school that are doing this. And so for the most part, they don't have the time. They may have the interest, especially if they were to get sick, but they don't have the time to offer that to their patients. This is where the frustration comes in. And so I think for the most part, what we would love is a physician to spend a little bit more time with us, but that isn't always available. So we have to learn some of this on our own. I think Western medicine, again, is very powerful for acute life-threatening situations. But for the day-to-day of our lives, maybe it's not a doctor that we're looking for specifically, but somebody who can talk us through how to get back into balance.
It sounds like you want us in general to kind of slow down.
Yeah, but, again, slow is one of those words, as you pointed out earlier, that a lot of people react to, which is, no, I'd rather be fast. I'd rather get to my goals faster. But this, to me, is about enjoying a process, the process of our lives. Yes, we want to get to our goals. We want to feel really well. We want to do that as quickly as possible. But I think this is the way to do it. However, it really requires a good understanding of what is health. How does one acquire that state of being, even in the face of an illness? People can be, in many ways, have a great quality of life, even when ill. That's what I want to try to help everyone with. It's never too late.
We've talked about, doctor, medication, the pills. Let's talk about nutrition a little bit, too. I'm assuming that is a big part of what you practice, and with your clients, getting them to eat healthy, and that's all part of the whole healthy lifestyle, is it not?
Absolutely. So it's not unfamiliar to people now to understand that maybe more fruits and vegetables, less processed foods, less animal products is generally advised. To me, though, we want to be able to reach that, what's on our plate that way, with also a mental attitude, approach to eating, dining, where we're actually experiencing the quality of those foods. We can wolf down broccoli. And while technically it might have more nutrients than a piece of bread, if we're wolfing it down and we're worried about tomorrow and we're, walking while we're eating, yes, technically it might be a little better, but it's not nearly as good as sitting down and eating broccoli with friends and family around you at a table that's quiet, maybe having gone to the farmer's market that weekend to pick up the broccoli and meeting the farmer who grew it. There's so many more ways we can connect dots so that it's not just one thing or another. It's not just exercise, not just diet. It's a way of living. And that's what I want to emphasize. So I will cover that. Nutrition is vitally important. But to me, one could be less neurotic about the details if they're organizing the entire approach around the meal. Otherwise, we get really caught up in the details and we're thinking cancer when we eat broccoli. that brings cancer into our mind, into our body. I'd rather you think farmer. I'd rather you think farmer's market on Sunday. I'd rather you think, look at the beautiful flowers and the people around me while you're eating that broccoli, not this will prevent cancer.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Dr. Michael Finkelstein on the premiere episode today of Slow Medicine Radio, and we're talking about what this whole phenomenon of slow medicine is. We talked a little bit about medication, a little bit about nutrition. Let's talk now a little bit about one thing that seems to me, hearing people that suffer ailments, want to lose weight, they don't stress enough the importance of sleep. Talk a little bit about sleep.
Yeah, I think if we're going to think of choosing one thing to do differently today or this week or this month than in the past, although diet and activity are very important, I think sleep is the number one thing to figure out. Now, that doesn't mean you can just put your head on the pillow at 10 o'clock and fall asleep and wake up at 8. That's, for most people, impossible, impractical. Quality of sleep, though, is a very important thing. It's more to the subject of the rhythms and cycles of your day and of your week. So let's say you work hard, and that might be 6 days a week. Maybe one day a week you can have that quality of sleep. One day a week you attend to yourself in such a way that you know how important that is. So you're going to, at least on Saturday night to Sunday morning, you're going to get yourself a decent night's sleep. How do you do that? It's not just going to bed at 10. It may have to do with what you're going to do all day Saturday, like getting outside into natural light, or making sure that you're truly relaxed, or that your mind is clear on Saturday night before you go to bed, or that you have spent some time during that day, Saturday, before you go to sleep, doing something that moves your body a little differently. So you're setting yourself up to sleep. It's not just wishful thinking. There's a little bit of a plan that has to go into it. But if one could achieve a substantial change, even one day a week, one night a week in terms of sleep, the impact in terms of the body, in terms of the turning off of the sympathetic overdrive that I talked about earlier, can be very powerful. That leads to anti-inflammatory states, which improve all those and other things that we call inflammatory conditions, like arthritis and heart disease and nervous system disorders and gastrointestinal disorders. So sleep can affect all of those things.
He is Dr. Michael Finkelstein. The name of the show is Slow Medicine Radio. He's the slow medicine doctor, and we're learning about what this whole phenomenon of slow medicine is. So we talked about sleep, a little bit about nutrition, a little bit about medicine. Sounds like putting all these together and making a healthy lifestyle is what you're all about.
Yeah. And over time, what I want to really do with all of you who are listening is to field questions. All the practical questions, all the challenges that people face are an opportunity for me to review with them how these dots get connected. Because, in fact, if we attend to different areas of our life simultaneously, a little bit, the synergy between them could be great. So, for instance, people know to be active. So they might join a gym, which takes money and time, etc. What if I told you you also want to sleep well, and you want to get outside, and you want to have relationships, and you want to live with people and sort of cultivate a nice community, and you, instead of going to a gym, you decided to participate in a community garden. You got outside, you were in sunlight, breathing fresh air, your hands were in the dirt, you're with other people, you're doing something creative, you're moving your body. That one activity is what I'll call healthy multitasking. It's connecting a lot of dots. So I want to have this conversation with people to give them fresh ideas about how they can approach the same targets, but get more bang for their buck, in essence, in terms of how they invest their time, their mental energy, and their money.
I'm very curious. I'm assuming a lot of people will come to you, and they live this fast-paced world, and this fast-paced everyday routine, and that's contributing to the way they feel, which is not great. How do you get them to live the lifestyle they're in now and kind of change it? And like we said before, slow down a little bit and enjoy their food, get the sleep. How do they transform? How do they do that?
Well, it's commonly stated you take one step at a time. But let's say you said to me your destination was California, and you're starting here in New York. Well, you're going to go through New Jersey. You can't get to, Illinois first. So you start by moving west. You start by taking one step in that direction. The journey is going to be thousands of miles. It may take you a long time, but you move in the right direction. Essentially, what I do with people is to help them identify that path. Also get clear on what the direction is. When people talk about I want to be healthy, interestingly enough, a lot of people don't really think about what that means, healthy. To some people, it means just don't have any diseases. For other people, it might mean, to feel strong, to look good. To me, it requires a set of questions that help people understand some of these things. So the book that I wrote has 77 questions. The questions are meant for somebody to do somewhat of an inventory. And then after they take those questions and see how they're doing in these different areas, sort of like facets of a gem, they start polishing one at a time. They do, my recommendation is they do the easiest things first. They don't start off with stopping smoking tomorrow. Because sometimes, as people who smoke know, it's quite difficult, especially if they're still experiencing a lot of stress. But maybe they can drink enough water tomorrow. Maybe they can get outside one day a week. Maybe they can work on their sleeping one day a week. Maybe they could write a letter to people that have aggravated them in the past and get some of this stuff off their chest. Eventually, as they feel stronger and more whole, they're able to tackle some bigger things. There's a logic to how this would be approached. Many times it's individualized, but there's a general approach that I could share with people as who are listening to get a sense of how to do this.
We're speaking with Dr. Michael Finkelstein. The name of the show is Slow Medicine Radio, and this is WVOX, our premiere episode today. Tell me a little bit about a person's mindset. Sounds like you maybe have to kind of change their mindset a little bit.
What I try to help people do is get to a point where they can see more clearly. I'm not trying to convince people, but let's say I can walk you to the top of the mountain so you can see the path. If I said we were about the bottom of the mountain, I said on the other side of that mountain there's a road that will take you to California, but you can't see it. So you just see this big mountain in front of you. That actually is tough. What I'd rather do is help people see more clearly by asking them questions that they can easily answer, but they have maybe never been asked before in such an organized way so that they can see themselves. They can see where they are. If I said, if you told me you were going to go to California, but you didn't know where you were starting, it'd be very hard to get there. So the first thing I do with people is say, how are you doing? How are you doing in this way? How are you doing in your relationships? How are you doing with, your relationship to the natural world, to the divine? How are you doing with your job? Do you love what you do? Do you feel whole in your body? And mind is a big part of that. Our perspective, or our thoughts are essentially the entirety of our existence. If it doesn't cross your mind, and I ask people to think about this, it doesn't exist for you.
What I'm thinking is that what you said earlier in the show is, a lot of people who don't know about slow medicine radio or about slow medicine, their approach is, I want to take this piece of broccoli because it's going to help me not get cancer. This is going to help me not get this. We're kind of on the prevention way of thinking, and you're telling me it should be the opposite of that.
Yeah, I think all those things are valuable. They make sense. However, people have tried them, and they're not necessarily feeling entirely well, and they may be neurotic. They may be really anxious about their health. What if you can achieve the same thing, but starting the other way, just getting yourself in balance, just understanding how you feel, whether you're in balance or not first, and then navigate yourself to that point. Some of the things will be the same recommendations, but you don't start off with a long list because that's going to stress you out. So I'd rather you see the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, the stuff that's really easy for you as an individual, and piece together a plan that builds from the ground up, essentially. And that makes people feel along the way stronger and stronger and stronger, more optimistic, and that changes their mindset, gives them more power to do some of the things that right now, like stopping smoking, would be very difficult to just pull off tomorrow.
If you are listening to us right now, you've tried conventional medicine and you're suffering from an ailment, or you just want to live a healthier lifestyle, how can people get in touch with you, doctor?
Well, so again, the website is slowmedicine.org. The phone number is 914-218-3113. As an aside, I'm going to invite people on the show, too, to stimulate conversations. And what I really, again, want to invite people to do is to call in to ask me their questions. Because your question is going to help me not only explain something to you in terms of how this works, but the others that will listen will benefit. Because it's a process of understanding, it's a new paradigm on how we approach health and healing. And it's about a process around living a quality of life. And when that happens, your body gets really happy. The cells of your body like being rested. They like wholesome nutrition. They like good relationships. They like when you find a job that's meaningful. That's going to make your cancer behave better. That's going to make your heart and blood vessels behave better. That's going to improve your mental clarity and your relationships. So it works.
Tell us a little bit about some of the guests you're planning on.
Well, next week, my first guest will be a good friend of mine, Ken Pelletier, who wrote a book called New Medicine. And in some ways, though this technically isn't new, this is how people live their lives for a long time, he and I will discuss integrative medicine. He's a teacher at the University of Arizona School of Medicine, where I studied with Andrew Weil. He has written many books, and he's just particularly articulate on this subject. And down the road, I'm hoping to have my medical school classmate, Mehmet Oz, on the show.
Better known as
Dr. Oz. Now, of course, quite honestly, there are controversies around what he and I do. It was just to talk about alternatives. But there's an intelligence to this conversation that I want to have, and he is a particularly fine individual and a very intelligent man. And despite the controversies, he and other people like that, I think you'll enjoy listening to, and we'll have a great conversation.
His name is Dr. Michael Finkelstein, and this is Slow Medicine Radio. You can listen to us every Monday now at 5 p.m. And again, I encourage you to go to his website, slowmedicine.org. There's a lot of information on there, just pretty much explains what this whole paradigm of slow medicine is. And once again, welcome to WVOX. We look forward to a lot of great episodes in the future.
Thank you, Don.